Hello, everybody. This is Sun Random Neko, waking up from her nap to greet the world for the day. And by greet, I mean continue to not watch live action remakes until they're streaming, and instead watch the original animated films they were remade from. Because why watch a remake in theaters when I can watch the original on the DVD I bought back when Chuck E. Cheese's logo still looked like this and not whatever this is? Anyways, the live action remake of How to Train Your Dragon has just been released, and rather than go watch what seems to be a shot for shot remake based on the trailers, I watched the original animated film instead. And man, even 15 years later, this film is still a spectacle to behold. On the rugged Isle of Berk, which is 12 days north of Hopeless and a few degrees south of freezing to death, Vikings and dragons have been bitter enemies for generations. Hiccup, an undersized teen outcast and son of the village chieftain, wishes to become a dragon slayer like every other Viking in the village. One night, he manages to injure the rare and deadly Night Fury dragon, but is unable to bring himself to kill it. He instead helps and befriends the dragon, who he names Toothless, and quickly discovers that things are not as they seem in the conflict between Vikings and dragons. Together, the two unlikely friends must navigate the delicate path towards coexistence and soar beyond the boundaries of their worlds to forge a new future of peace. How to Train Your Dragon tells an amazing story about a boy and his dragon, overcoming their differences and society's expectations through understanding, empathy, and compassion. There's good pacing and progression to each story beat, with no amount of time, no line of dialogue, and no single moment wasted. Everything from setup to build up to payoff was amazing. There's also humor that isn't cringe or contrived, with the right amount of seriousness to show the story is not afraid to get deep or personal. And I really like how the film has a good balance of showing and telling, where the show isn't too subtle to notice, and when they need to tell, it's not overly expositional, and they also show why it was important enough to be told later on. Like how everything Hiccup discovers through his interactions with Toothless leads to his success in dragon training and in the strategy of the final battle. I like how everything has a purpose, and I especially love how everything comes together seamlessly with the characters playing a key part in accomplishing that. Speaking of the characters, there are a few that stand out. First is Hiccup, our sarcastic dork of a main character who's nothing like the other Vikings for reasons that aren't even his fault. And Toothless, a Night Fury dragon who's basically a dog, a cat, a bird, and a bat, all mixed together into a deadly but adorable flying and fire-breathing package. Individually, they're great characters, but together, they're an iconic dynamic duo. Next is Astrid, who's the perfect Viking in every sense, but still marches to the beat of her own drum regardless of everyone around her. Then we have Stoic and Gobber, who are two sides of the same fatherly Viking coin towards Hiccup. Stoic is Hiccup's actual father who loves his son but can't understand him and actively chooses not to because of society's expectations. And Gobber does understand Hiccup and doesn't want him to change who he is, but delivers it with the same mindset as every other Viking. And finally, there's all the other teens who are still unique enough to stand out from one another despite not getting the same attention as Hiccup or Astrid. What makes these characters truly shine, though, are the bonds that are formed amongst them all. I especially love the bond formed between Hiccup and Toothless, which was really something special to see unfold. The gradual build up to trust, the payoff of that trust, how well they connect and complement each other, the way they sass and support each other as if they've been friends forever, and the test flight scene where it all came together for the first time with music swelling triumphantly at their achievement. It was just beautiful to see. And then there's the contrasting relationship of one-sided conversations and societal expectations between Hiccup and Stoic that's complicated the only way families can be. But I love how Stoic eventually changes and grows as a character, all because he finally stopped acting like a chief and started listening like a father. There was also banter between characters like Hiccup and Toothless and Stoic and Gobber that was especially hilarious and felt natural to their characters. And I really love how the dragons complement the teens who ride them, both in appearances and personality, like how pets take after their owners, or is it owners who take after their pets? Anyways, the bonds really draw out the charm of the characters and the heart of the story, intertwining them together in a way that best delivers the themes of the film, which are about the value of communication and understanding, the importance of empathy and compassion, and how the world can be changed for the better if you're willing to take a chance and see things from a perspective different from the one you've always known. In regards to production, it's amazing. I absolutely love the attention to detail in every aspect of this film. The facial expressions don't feel cartoonishly exaggerated, the body language is suitably subtle, and you can see tons of little details like freckles, body hair, dragon scale texture, wear and tear on clothes, barnacles on ships, and so much more. They even added details to the Book of Dragons, like the yellowing of pages from age, and stains from all the people who've handled it. The dragons all have unique designs, with different body structures, skills, and flight movements. The sets and locations are expansive, with scale, color, and natural beauty that isn't embellished to comical degrees or hidden behind poor lighting. And I really appreciate how the art style and design of the sets, armory, tapestry, carvings, ships, and even the runic alphabet draw inspiration from real-life Viking culture. While sure it's not completely historically accurate, they at least did their research and tried, instead of half-assing it and throwing out a Western interpretation of what Vikings were like and hoping no one would notice. The animation is also amazing and aged really well even 15 years later. The flying scenes were great, as there's all kinds of aerodynamics that were shown, especially when in the perspective of the rider and the dragon, like how the wind pushes against Hiccup and Toothless as they climb the skies, or how the big bad moves with slow and lumbering motions given the weight of its giant size. Basically, physics exists, and it's used as a guideline rather than a suggestion. The action scenes were also amazing in size, scale, and movement, taking into account the skills and weaknesses each dragon and human has. And the fights were actually smart and tactically driven, rather than just having a bunch of people and dragons brute forcing or fire spamming their way through. There was clearly a great amount of care and passion put into bringing this film to life. And that is especially true for the sound design and voice acting. The vocal performances were all on point in terms of energy and emotion, and I really can't imagine the characters being voiced by anyone else, because they were all matches made in heaven, with each actor bringing the characters to life with their unique voices. The soundtrack was completely orchestral, with only the end credits having lyrical songs, and John Powell deserves all the rewards for his work because the soundtrack was truly amazing with its leitmotifs that were used to evoke different emotions or intertwined together to represent different things. In fact, the main leitmotif is so memorable that you immediately think of this film whenever you hear it, like how the Imperial March makes everyone think of Darth Vader. I honestly can't remember the last time a soundtrack was this memorable, without having to use lyrical music or original songs to boost it. And when you combine great voice acting and a great soundtrack with great sound design, it adds meaning and weight to each moment, drawing out all sorts of emotion and increasing the impact of every scene. Now, I know I probably sound like I'm purposely ignoring any major glaring flaws this film might have, but there's actually not much to critique, at least nothing that's major or glaring. If anything, the only things I can critique are small issues that bug me on a personal level. Like how much time passes in the film is really unclear. Did everything happen over the course of a couple of weeks? A few months? A year? While not vital to the plot, it would have been a nice little thing to know. Then there are some things story-wise that left me confused in the moment, but made sense after I thought about it for a bit. Like how Hiccup was able to bond with Toothless and build contraptions without anyone, especially Gobber, noticing what he was doing. Or how no one except Astrid thought it was suspicious that Hiccup suddenly became so competent in the arena. Or how quickly Astrid changed her tune towards Toothless. Or why the other teams were willing to listen to Hiccup and go along with his crazy plan without much question. Then there's the delivery of certain lines that bothered me, like Astrid's Go, or Hiccup's Everything we know about you guys is wrong, which sounded a little off, like they threw that line in there last minute, or something was lost in translation when they recorded the line and then put it into the final cut. And there are probably a bunch of other things that I miss and others notice, but they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, at least to me, because the film was just that great, as while its flaws may ding on your radar, they will never truly matter, since you'll be too focused on the great story being told through amazing animation that's unfolding before you to really care. Overall, How to Train Your Dragon does not get an ordinary A to F grade. Instead, it gets the rare and coveted S rank that's reserved solely for media that is practically perfect in every way, and even if they have flaws, they're forgettable at best and insignificant at worst, because this film is spectacular in every single aspect. It's got an amazing story with heart that's not afraid to get deep. The characters are all unique in their own ways, even if they aren't all given much screen time or attention. There's good humor in all the right and unexpected places, with the right amount of seriousness to balance it all out. It's not afraid to make complicated and layered relationships relating to family and society. The bond of friendship formed between Hiccup and Toothless is really something special to see. The animation still holds up extremely well even 15 years later, with amazing attention to detail, movements that mostly respect the laws of physics, and a well-researched dive into Viking culture that makes everything from set design to character outfits to the runic alphabet and more seem as true to life as the fantastical world allows. And the orchestral soundtrack is so amazing and memorable that whenever you hear it, you will immediately think of this film. So if you want a spectacular and unique viewing experience, How to Train Your Dragon is a truly special film that tells the tried and true story of a boy and his dog, or in this case, a boy and his dragon, and how their friendship turned society on its head and changed things for the better. And it will continue to be something special even after many more years have passed, because it's truly become a timeless classic. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Reminder that this is just my opinion, so you can take it with as many grains of salt as you want. I don't mind either way, and would love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and comment which film you'd like me to give my 2 cents about next. Also, if you have plans to watch the live action remake but haven't seen the original animated film yet, I highly recommend you watch the original first or watch it instead of the remake, because even if the remake is good, it'll still pale in comparison to the original. But at the end of the day, it's your choice what you want to do. I'm just here to give my unsolicited opinion. Anyways, this is Sun Random Neko going off to take a nap now. Don't forget to keep calm and just meow.